the stage. Mm-hmm. Hello. Hang on one second. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let me fix my mic issues here. Good. Everything. Can you hear me? I'll just have to assume that's a yes. What's up, everybody? I'm getting a number of comments for the last week or so saying, what is the prompt for the next zine? And I thought it was super clear, but apparently I'm not. So I guess I am just going to start up a stream here, and we'll talk a little bit about my schemes, my dreams, my plans, my visions for this next issue that's hopefully coming out the first of summertime. And I brought along Henry as my conversation partner. If anyone else wants to join, we'll throw the link up in a little bit, I guess. But yeah, welcome, Henry.
Hey, Matt. It's good to be here.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being my co-host here. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is stream number 1 where I'm fully and totally in charge. Can't hear me? I can hear you, at least in my ear. Foxman, can you hear us? Edit mic settings. Banned from studio. I'm getting green lights here. Is your volume up at all? This is embarrassing. Oh, okay. Good. Oh, can hear. I can't read. I'm test driving brand new glasses, which are supposed to make this whole reading thing easier, and apparently that is not true at all.
Here, I'll make it worse for me. I'll put on my cool sunglasses, and I can't see anything. Actually, this is a bad idea. Never mind.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's. I mean, I can hear you.
Okay. Never mind.
I don't know. And once again, I want to say, though, it's probably not my fault because remember, Henry is one of those digital natives. He just has this magical X-Men ability to make the computer work in a way that I cannot because I was born in the day. I remember dial-up, sir. I remember landline telephones. Oh, my goodness.
I'm in that sweet spot because late Gen Z, Gen Alpha can't work a computer to save their lives. I've discovered that in the last 3 years.
Okay. All right. Well, let's formally start here, and we'll just cut this last 3 minutes in post. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that at all. But welcome. I figured I'd throw up a little bit of a live stream and what's up, F? And do a little bit of group brainstorming to kind of like pick at our new prompt or theme for the next issue of this little zine. And much like the last one, this thing kind of bubbled up from from another conversation that caught fire. For our first issue, Cyberpunk Islam Edition, we kind of stumbled upon and sort of like made the concept into a meme and found that it was something that like really caught fire. It was something that was really like, creatively provocative in a way that it became clear to all of us, that we're kind of like talking about it. That like, oh, this is something that we can like do some sustained, like build some sustained artwork out of. And we have 55 plus pages of short fiction as the result that I'm incredibly proud of. And the thing that caused me to kind of like land on this topic for this time around was that somebody watched True Detective season 1 for the first time. And for those of you that know, like it's an astonishing piece of media, and it was an incredible like HBO TV series that used the trope of the detective to kind of investigate, like the cultural nihilism that we're all dealing with. This is 2014, I want to say it came out. And this show managed to, using both detectives and a sort of kind of like H.P. Lovecraft kind of cosmic horror backdrop, really start to poke at this like felt experience of nihilism that I think we can all kind of like resonate with. And yeah, that's a remarkable work of media, and we're probably going to do some commentary on that in the nearest future because that's the sort of thing that really should be sitting up high on like this little corner's like media canon, as something that really dovetails well with the work of Jordan Peterson. And so after noticing the response to that and starting to think a little bit about how what an important how important figures are. I mean, like here in this little corner, we we talk a lot about modernity. Apparently, we've got a lot of problems with modernity. And honestly, if you think of it, like, to my mind, I can't imagine a fictional character who is a better sort of like mascot for everything that modernity is. Other like, I can't think of a better mascot than Sherlock Holmes. Like, he was such a such again like an incredibly powerful fictional character who caught everybody's imagination. I've heard many times that I think Sherlock Holmes is like the character that the most fan fiction has been made out of. And there have been a number of different versions he's taken. If you guys remember from like the early aughts, the TV show House MD, that explicitly was a like taking Sherlock Holmes and making him a medical doctor. Having a cocaine addiction is a very modern issue. The consequences of globalization, my friend. Oh, it's back in the good old days. And Henry, as a guy that reads, I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are as far as, or at least a guy that talks about writing, which frankly is good enough these days.
Do I talk about? I guess I do talk about writing.
Talk about writing. I don't want to like job dox you or anything like that, but
I've already job doxed myself on my own channel all the time. It doesn't matter, and I don't ever actually get to talk about writing. My kids talk about a bunch of other nonsense I have to redirect. So the more the merrier. I'm excited about this detective, like, mystery, whatever you want to classify it. I don't know if you really pinpointed like specifically what you want to do. I wish I'd seen True Detective so that I could contribute some of that discussion. I've followed that discourse and I've been kind of sold on it, but I've been told I'm not allowed to watch it by myself. I have to have somebody with me to see it because it gets really heavy.
I guess we'll talk about that off screen as far as like what your concerns are, because I feel like I know we can walk you through it. Because again, like one of the other
I could probably handle it. I don't know.
Right. Hey, we'll talk about that later, I guess. But I mean, I can think of it. I see a couple other folks in the chat who also have not seen it yet. I don't want to make any comments about kids these days, but kids these days, man. And one of the great things about, I know, part of the fun is also getting people who have first reactions to it. So getting some folks in the chat or discussion who have never seen it before, who are dealing with it for the first time, I find that really, really valuable. Especially if you aren't watching it in like the moment that it came out, like 15 years ago. Because I have to go back and remember what was 2014 like. What was I doing in 2014? But anyway, that'll likely come soon. Okay. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought here. But anyway, so on top of that, there's also I'd like to push forward like a book club component as well. We've been talking a lot about well, I mean, I'm sharing my StreamYard account with Freerillian, who's famous for his Chesterton and Chill channels. And Chesterton did create, well, he after Sherlock Holmes, he made his own really impressive detective character with the Father Brown mysteries. Yes. But he also wrote a pretty phenomenal, and again, I think this book is also part of what should be or is TLC canon. But his short novella, The Man Who Was Thursday, A Nightmare, features cops investigating and going undercover, and it's very, very interesting. It's very, very funny. It's very, very ironic, and it gets very, very weird. And I think in a way that this little corner can appreciate a lot. So I don't have dates for when I'm going to start any of these things yet, but that's definitely coming soon. So you're welcome to start reading The Man Who Was Thursday. I think it's about 120 pages or so. It's not long. He's a very entertaining writer. Chesterton's good at what he does.
Yeah. I have not read The Man Who Was Thursday. That's on my shelf over there. That's about to get packed up. My friend, however, not quarter related, has insisted and been like, "Please, you have to read it." Da, da, da. And I've just never gotten around to it. I think he was more into it for the social, cultural commentary, criticism stuff that Chesterton was doing, kind of latent in it, since he was so ensconced and mired in that in the early 2020s. I was reading that alongside some of the Peterson stuff at the time.
Yeah, I don't want to say there's like a conspiratorial layer to it, but it does deal with, I don't know, like world conspiracies. It's the short premise is that you have a detective who is he's picked by his superior officer to become an undercover agent to infiltrate a ring of anarchists who are trying to topple the government, if not the world itself. It's and so it, for all of us who are conspiracy friendly, or at least conspiracy curious, The Man Who Was Thursday is a great piece of work. And it's a reminder that the things we're concerned about may feel very new to us, but they're not necessarily new. People have often felt like there's something deeply wrong with the entire world, and we're the only ones that can see through it.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole detective thing, though, is seeing beyond that which is seemingly reality, seeing that beyond which is presented immediately. And you touched on Sherlock Holmes being kind of the epitome of modernity. I think that's really, really good, because at the same time as Sherlock Holmes is published, we're in the mid to late 19th century, and Darwin's Origin of Species is coming out. We're really shifting away post-Enlightenment into our kind of atheist evolution kind of adoption to the common culture, and Sherlock Holmes kind of is in some way very much defined and ensconced by that attempt at reframing reality based on that which is investigated, dug up, presented, and for better for worse, whatever Darwin's conclusions are, right, is in of itself kind of a uncovering maybe the mystery, right, of the origin of species, but the mystery too of our own existence.
Yes. And that's also a great example of how flexible the genre, the theme of detective can be. You can take that and place it in like pretty much anywhere. You can have a scientist who is doing some sort of like investigative reporting. I mean, again, like the show House, where they took Sherlock Holmes and they made him a doctor, and but the whole conceit of Sherlock Holmes and his ability to see through what's really going on, it worked really well in a very different setting. So part of the reason why, I don't know, I've gotten a lot of pushback, like, I need more than just the word detective, and I honestly don't think that you do.
No. Ooh, actually, I got a point about that.
Yes, please.
So when I was in college, my favorite class I took was called Women in Crime Fiction. And we spent the whole first lecture just essentially defining terms of what is crime fiction. And normally people would automatically default to, right, a detective work specifically, or a police procedural. But we had opened the gates so broad before we even started the class, and saying, well, any fiction that has a crime that has to be figured out or identified is in fact crime fiction, maybe by extension a detective work. Lady Chatterley's Lover was an example of an early piece of fiction that we ultimately ended up describing as crime fiction in that. And so if we're defining maybe the terms and direction of the zine, does it have to have a detective, or does it merely have to have a crime and some sort of investigation? Whether or not it's formal or informal.
Again, like as far as my own personality is concerned, you're welcome to go as loose as you would like. As in, like, I think you're one of the ones who didn't even completely ignored both pieces of my prompt for the Islam edition, but still turned out a great product. So I mean, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. And the thing is, like with your story, like, just the fact that it's sitting nestled in the middle of all of these other stories that are about, cyberpunk Islam, you still get the benefits of being part of that scene. And there's something interesting about the fact that you didn't address it at all. Like, think about somebody trying to get by and get back to like the old world in the middle of the world of, digital minarets and muezzins blaring 5 times a day and whatnot. Somebody who's trying to, and the fact, and your story, was it Cal tried to run away to the woods with
yes, yeah, it was a return to nature kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever nature is in this world, but vaguely.
Is there such a thing anymore? And not only that, like, you also, like, I'm glad that you decided to show up and join us, because comics themselves have one of the most famous detectives in the world after Sherlock Holmes. Although in most of his most recent iterations, the detective part is dropped. But like, I know, can we call you some of an expert on the world's greatest detective?
I'd like to think I'm an expert. I've read enough. I could yap all about him himself. Yes, Batman himself, Af. I think that Batman is probably his strongest. And I've thought about this, and I've got drafts. What if I'll dig them up as I'm talking? I used to think about, if I wrote Batman, I would be in charge. And I think Batman at his strongest is when he is very much playing into primarily that detective archetype. Some of it, I think, is culturally rooted. He's a product of Pulp Fiction of the 40s going into the 50s for start. But I think much like Sherlock Holmes, Batman is an odd American evolution of Holmes. Holmes is a consulting detective. He does it freelance independently. He works in conjunction with the police on very loose, not always friendly terms, and has kind of a clash. For Holmes, it's just ego for the most part, and knowing that he's the smartest man in the room. And so when you take Batman, who is a mythic character in some ways, if we want to use that, and is tapping into a more primal kind of archetype of just taking on the role of an animal, is very I want to be careful about saying this, because tribalist kind of in some way.
I was gonna say, are you gonna drop the shaman word there?
I'm actually, because there's a great Batman story called Batman Shaman that is exactly about that. It's both a detective work and about Batman becoming a shaman type figure. In the
you mentioned that, and I tried to find it, and it was expensive.
It's out of print. Let me go grab my issues. I'll just show the little pages. It's out of print. No, it hasn't been collected, which is a crime. It's the best out of the Legends of the Dark Knight stuff. Let me grab it.
Okay, it's interesting. And see, this is funny because, like, True Detective, also you can see there's some shamanistic elements to that as well. So I mean, I'm not sure what to make of the intersection between detective and shaman. Please.
Well, these are the issues. All 5 of them. They're the first 5 of Legends of the Dark Knight. This was a series that was published right around the release of Tim Burton's Batman film in 1989. And was kind of a return to form. If you read any of the letters pages in there, they say, this is great. We haven't had a solo Batman story in years because we're in the late 80s. Robin is very much there. It's very much becoming a new thing and less kind of very gritty crime procedural stuff. And this is a return to form in a very unique twist. I think the connection between the shaman and the kind of detective role is, well, as Af says, is peering into the occult, or at least the occluded. Yes, there's that. But again, I think the detective brings sense and meaning to the world. Batman as a detective, you can say he's fighting crime so he can stop what happened to his parents from ever happening again, but being a detective actually also helps prevent that. It unveils the mystery behind why men would gun down, the richest family in the world, or in the city, in front of their child, right? Some of that is uncovering, making sense of that, whether that's conscious or unconscious. And the shaman too makes sense in meaning of the world. And so Batman is twofold doing that.
There is something about the job of the detective. Is there's somebody you call when the world has been thrust into a state of chaos, and the job of the detective is to look into the middle of that chaos and try and discern the order that caused this chaos to erupt, in order to restore the world by explaining how this thing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sense of all mystery stories, is there's something kind of like archetypal about, like, something has gone wrong with the world. The snake has entered the garden, and we got to figure out how to deal with the snake that's in the garden.
Well, that's why that's also why when a detective or a mystery story just completely falls flat and fails, it's so unsatisfying and so frustrating, is because there is an attempt at making some sort of meaning of the world or of the situation, and that's why we're obsessed with cold cases. We want to find the meaning behind it, the causality of such things. And when such things are left, stones are left unturned, or part of the piece is missing, whether forever or still just not quite there, it's really not cathartic. It's quite the opposite, right? We like the catharsis of seeing the mystery resolve and everything fall into place. Sherlock Holmes novels are very satisfying in that way, because we like that kind of catharsis, I guess. And Batman, as that character, brings a catharsis there too, in solving these things.
Yeah, and that's present in True Detective, because it is a case that they thought they solved ends up there's a series of ritualistic killings that they're trying to resolve, and they think they solve it, and then 20 years later those ritualistic killings start up again, and so they're brought back and like, we thought we solved this, and it's a matter of dealing with what kind of justice are you trying to serve as well. Because the other thing about like cops and detectives is that cops are folks that, I mean, they work for, as a general rule, their job is to preserve social order. And one of the things that, especially if you get into things like, like noir, some of the more cynical type stories where you deal with a guy who he has been conscripted to help restore social order. But to do so, he has to betray the truth in some sense. And so there's a lot of times, especially if you get into noir, where you deal with these two layers of, there is social order and then there's cosmic order. And there's times where you have to betray one for the sake of the other. And there's other detectives where they are, like Watchmen, Alan Moore's Watchmen. It also has like the Rorschach investigation sort of thing. And there's one character in particular who basically says, like, I am willing to let the social order burn for the sake of serving cosmic justice, cosmic truth.
Yes. And that cosmic justice isn't served at the end of that book. Well, it might be later. That's the vague ending.
It's yeah, we'll see. Well, not we'll see, but
sequels have been made. Sequels have been made where it happens.
Sequel.
It's
fair. One way or the other. But yeah, trying to deal with the question of different levels of justice. And also another trope with like the noir is that you have, in one sense, like a lot of cops or detectives who do not live morally exemplary lives. They like, very often they're guys that have troubled pasts. They're dealing with dealing with like the guilt and the shame and the PTSD of things they've done in their past. And so they're not necessarily people to look up to, but they are still willing to serve and be an agent for cosmic justice, even if they themselves do not embody cosmic justice. I just asked, there's an aspect of the threat is still out there and could strike again. There's also the idea that in this world of imperfect justice, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the kind of person who just throws your hands up and says, this world is meaningless, this is a world full of pain, violence, and brutality, and so I'm not going to bother to try and do anything? Or are you willing to enlist in the side of the good and fight the good fight, even if it's in some sense a losing battle without some greater intervention? I once heard this was something I saw on Twitter that really stuck with me. Is somebody described Beowulf as wisdom literature, in a very and also in the sense that there is something wise, there is something profound about being the guy who is willing to stand up and fight against the forces of chaos that are threatening to drag the world back into the swamp. Even if evil is stronger, evil is going to destroy you eventually, but it is still worth it to stand up and fight evil, even if you know that it's stronger than you.
I like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's this whole...
If we want to talk about World's Greatest Detective again, if I can bring that up as we go.
Absolutely.
There's interpretations based on, the ever evolving and adapting continuity. People like to fudge the murder of the Waynes or some other origin of things. Grant Morrison in the 2000s wrote a long run on Batman, and there's a character that shows up who claims to be Thomas Wayne, and starts fudging proof that he's actually the Satanist occult member, and it's a perversion of the good name of the Waynes, etc.
Of course.
And everything gets resolved for the most part, but he says that Batman says there's still a hole in things, like cosmically, there's a hole in things that can't be solved. And some of that has to do with the mysterious origins of this man who claims to be Thomas Wayne. And some of it also, the hole in things, again, is just the sense or the lack of sense to his parents' violence, or to the violence done to his parents, it being senseless. And so when we fudge the continuity, or we fudge in an adaptation the reasons and the cause for the Wayne's death to have meaning and stuff, I think somehow that irrevocably kind of alters the mission and the purpose of the character. And so he's no longer a cosmic purveyor, or cosmic, what's the word? Patron of justice. And then it becomes a particularly targeted mission. And so messing with the actual perhaps meaninglessness or the nihilism, right, of their death, changes the mission, the purpose of the character.
So like he essentially does something to say like Thomas Wayne had it coming. Was sort of like the story.
Yes. Yeah. The Batman 2022 alludes to that, right? Thomas Wayne had it coming because he had connections to the mob. The Telltale Batman series also says Thomas Wayne had it coming because he was actively dealing with the mob. And so this perversion of this, this noble figure of a city being senselessly murdered into, well, he actually wasn't as noble, and it was a long time coming, and it made sense that like it would happen. It's a very different thing.
It's such a, man, it's like such an inversion to basically say the job of Bruce Wayne or Batman is to come around to the idea that like, no, it was justice that his father was gunned down. That should have happened.
Yeah, that would be weird. And actually, here's the other thing. It shouldn't be that, because at times, if you have him confront his father's killer, his parents' killer, and he meets him with proper justice, mercy, redemption, you go back to the redemptive aspect of like the detective figure as well, the restoration of order. And in this way, it's almost Christ-like in the forgiveness, right, of this senseless death.
Yeah.
Is Christ a detective because he unveils the meaning of truth, like truly the meaning of this world?
Oh, we got a third. What's up, Ezra? How are you?
What's up, man?
How's it going,
guys?
Good.
Sweet. So yeah, I was just hearing part of your conversation, and I was wondering if you're familiar with the Twin Peaks.
Oh, yes. It has been a minute since I have revisited that, but it is one semi-local, and I'm heading out to the coast in a couple of days to a town that always feels very Twin Peaksy when I get there, Forks, Washington, which is also where Twilight was filmed.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, my wife and I have gone to like North Bend where they filmed Twin Peaks, and it was awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay. And I've seen the Snoqualmie falls and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. But anyway, I was just thinking that in that they really suggest twice, really, that at a certain point the detective should stop trying to solve the mystery or resolve the mystery, or else like something terrible will happen, you know. And that seemed really similar to what you were just talking about with Batman there.
I mean, especially if you throw your detective into a sort of hero's journey type cycle, there should be some time where you have to, like, one of the major obstacles is it actually good for me to do what I'm trying to do?
Well, and in that they really set up a thing with like the masculine and feminine with the detective and the victim, and it's like at a certain point, it's like you're not supposed to know everything, or to try to resolve or fully solve the thing, undoes the nature of the universe or something.
I mean, that is a conflict that I think a lot of, or at least a number of detectives are kind of confronted with. Again, it's the question of like serving social order versus cosmic order. And the question is like, in so many times, there's so many like noir films where the thing is like you are forced to to stop investigating the case because you have provided a coherent answer to what has happened. That is good enough for everyone else involved. So who cares about what actually happened because social harmony has been restored? I mean, that's even like the Dark Knight. Or sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I really see it as like a yin yang, masculine feminine thing too, where it's like depending on how deep the mystery story goes, the mystery can be like everything, like every mystery. And should we try to resolve or solve every possible mystery? And then it can become like an abundance of the masculine or something, and things shift out of balance.
Oh, that'd be an interesting avenue for somebody to explore, where like the detective is like can't stop himself, or like there's a potential for a comic story where a detective has solved it, but he doesn't believe he has, and so he keeps digging and digging and digging for something that actually has been resolved and justice has been restored. But it's sort of like a kind of guy he's so pot committed to this. His identity is so entwined with the case. He does not know who he is once the case is resolved.
Well, and like I'm a big fan of Thomas Pynchon, and in Thomas Pynchon's books, it's like the mystery ends up encompassing like there's a conspiracy that sort of is reality. Like it goes so deep that it encompasses everything. So then at a certain point, it's like, oh, like what do we even do to resolve this?
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess the idea of like a local mystery that should be resolved for the greater good versus like trying to eliminate all mystery or something like that. The limit case.
Excellent. Good evening, General.
What's up?
I don't think you should take this guy's word for that. I happen to have a book here by this Thomas Pynchon feller.
Oh.
And so let's see if a little bit of that holds up to what this Ezra man claims.
Oh, please drop some words on here.
We're going into this backwards. Have you heard any mortar fire since the one? No. Andreas must have knocked it out then. Oh, they'll be all right. I'm worrying about us. Well, is that a guy trying to not say something? What? It's NGUARORERUE.
Is it like a stretch or a groan? Like a
Yeah.
yeah.
Like dinosaur yell.
All right, I think this guy is foolish. But thanks, Ezra, for quoting him. What did you steal from him that's supposed to be so good again?
What?
That's how this started. He said there's this pension fella that said
that like
so confusing.
Several of his books, there's like a conspiracy that ends up being so large that it kind of encompasses everything. So then is there really a mystery to like what does it mean to solve the mystery if it goes all the way down type of thing?
How then shall we live?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Now that we've found each other, should we breed? Should we have gardens? Let's meet around the campfire to discuss, though.
Yes.
No, sorry, just dropping by. I love you guys.
Nope.
And something to add about
him read all of Gravity's Rainbow. That would be great.
And I have a suspicion he picked one of the more coherent pages too.
Yeah, I think so.
Is there a particular Pynchon recommendation you'd throw to the crowd?
I mean, well, entry level is The Crying of Lot 49,
Okay.
which is a very short novel.
Good.
Yeah. So that's why it's good entry level.
Have you read Chesterton's Man Who Was Thursday, Ezra?
No.
It kind of gets into that. I imagine he's a much more, what was Chesterton writing, like early 1900s, I want to say, and so
Chesterton's,
he's a much more,
20th century.
Yeah. Ethan is laughing at your description of entry level.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the first one I read, and then I read Gravity, and I haven't read that many, but
we'll take short as good enough for. Hey, we have the same lights. It's Henry.
You just seen
behind, like, wait a second,
the man behind the mirror, the camera.
Oh man, he's taking the bat mask off. The cave proper. But yeah, no, Chesterton also he's got this idea that like the world is effectively a conspiracy. And there's this. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I was saying there's even the Pynchon movie. Inherent Vice is based on a Pynchon book. That movie, and similarly, there's in that film. There's like the conspiracy goes so deep that at the end it's like all of America and maybe the entire globe is possibly involved or something.
I had an example I wanted to bring up that I just read recently of a detective novel. And what was interesting about it it's a contemporary work within the last 20 years by an Irish novelist. Her name is Tana French. I started reading her work through that Women in Crime Fiction. What I found was really interesting about this recent book is called Faithful Place. It's about this undercover cop who goes back to his hometown. And because his estranged family finds his girlfriend's body in a derelict apartment, and he thought she had just gone missing. And so then he's just pressed and brought up to uncover the reality of the situation, because for 20-something years, he had thought that she had simply like left him, essentially, as they were supposed to run away together. And ultimately what happens on two levels is that he figures out who killed her, and then at the same time also kind of unravels the mystery behind the reality of the nature of his family, as dysfunctional and rough as it is, and ultimately breaks the social familial order by uncovering the truth at the end of that story. And so the mystery kind of exists on two ends. You have the police procedure itself uncovering this cold case, and then a subsequent murder. And at the same time, there's this piece by piece investigation of his own past and relationship to his siblings and to his mother and to his father, and to this woman who had disappeared, who turned out to have been murdered. And I kind of appreciate doing the mystery on two levels. And not that doesn't always happen, but I'm recalling some other detective stories that I read. I'm like, I don't know if we ever, like, psychological thriller / detective stuff is really interesting if you're working on two levels, and especially if they're intertwined in these kind of ways. And this novelist tends to do this quite a bit. For it effectively or ineffectively is a different discussion, but
yeah. I mean, like, for those of you writing detective fiction, like, the one question you should be able to answer or display is like, why does the detective care about the case that he's on? Because if it's just a guy who's doing his job, that's that's interest. I mean, the case itself might be interesting, but if we don't have our POV character doesn't, in some sense, have some sort of motivating principle for why he wants to be the guys who are gonna. Chad, we are all novices out here. Please, we are all. Like, I have never, like, the worst moment for me was when my story was 3/4 done and everyone else started submitting, and I'm just like, I need to fix everything because everybody is so much better than me. So we're all novices, and we're all here to get better at this together. So
I actually like that idea, Skank. The idea of like the phoned in detective, like the detective who just put on the case and just like doesn't want to even really solve it.
That's Blade Runner.
Guys, gentlemen, I have a case for you.
Okay.
I have a case for you. The lady thinks that the AI is sending men to try to breed with her. And this is the evidence that she presents to the detective.
Mhm.
I've stormed on your brain.
Oh, I thought you were going to continue, or you're asking us for.
No, just I put as I presented the evidence. You'd have to
Yes.
put it
Okay.
on stage.
Yeah.
Or
This lady suspects that the computers are trying to force her to breed.
yes,
Okay.
like the Chat GPT, whatever, are talking individuals to try to breed with her.
I mean, there's some interesting things to do there. Like, first off, how does she notice? Does she start to notice this? Not only does she keep getting hit on, but hit on by a very particular type of guy consistently. Or like maybe it's the sort of thing where like the AI is like trying to sync her specific genes up with another specific phenotype, and so she's like keeps getting I don't know, like interrupted by a very, very specific, unusual like physical characteristic or something.
The guy's disposition is safe, therapeutic, and affirming, like all of ChatGPT responses are, and so all of them are playing into her own wants, values, etc., and only affirming such things without any kind of clash against that.
I got the fourth fella at the commander was autistic, so he just was straight up like, "Look, GPT told me we should be together." So that was her first real clear, and then she saw the pattern after that.
Yeah, starts to realize like, oh, my entire life has been, or starts to notice like her last like string of like relationships have all been like coordinated by the AI itself somehow.
I thought it might be guys are using LLMs to try to like figure out what to say to her, like to figure out how to hit on her properly. Or
I thought this was just a premise for a story, man.
And then the LLMs, she realizes that the LLMs are actually steering them. So it's like if you're using GPT to try to do your socializing better, at what point am I actually socializing with GPT and not you?
Mm-hmm.
That's
like how
I
Ethan,
when I see a brainstorming session, detective edition, I hope that wasn't too much of a derail. Ezra's got an event tomorrow on its 26 subscriber channel. The commercial for which is what I put was the evidence of his the lady brought to us. Good. I don't know. Have we ever met before, Henry?
No, I think not. Nice to meet you, Grim.
Glad it was in a context where it was a safe space.
That's right. Only the safest spaces here at Skankenstein's channel.
I would have been down to meet you in an unsafe space.
Well, you're on it right now. Oh, right, Ezra's channel. Ezra Geo is the. I can't find the thing. Somebody else dropped the. I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do any of this. I just pressed play and started talking. Through the skank, Ethan. The skank.
We're really getting noir about this now too.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh! Such a. This is so hastily thrown together that
I wanted to talk almost jokingly, but I might actually want to run with it. I was thinking about Encyclopedia Brown and like those do-it-yourself junior detective novels for children. And
there it is.
Ooh, you make me want to go grab my cruddy white fedora out of my closet and participate in this. Anyway, if somebody else shows up, maybe. But I was thinking about that too. Of the stakes are really small on those, especially in an Encyclopedia Brown one, because it's easy to solve. But it's such quintessential Americana, like children playing in the yard conflicts of like, so and so stole my marbles, because we used to play marbles in 20th century America, and those are treated as, you know, very serious cases with this kind of, you know, anyone can solve and anyone can figure out these kind of things through deduction. Sherlock Holmes almost does the same thing of like anyone can solve a mystery almost. You just have to study and work at it per se, in an interesting way. It's all about observing patterns, paying attention.
What's the phrase? Elementary, my dear Watson.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That makes me think too of like the disinterested detective without a motivation. Sherlock Holmes has no motivation to solve a mystery other than to gratify his own ongoing inner workings. Otherwise, he's going to sit and do cocaine all day because he's bored out of his skull with his life because nothing is interesting to him. That's the opening of.
Good.
That's the opening of the second book. Is they're sitting around and he's just doing cocaine, and he's like, and Watson's like, "Can you, for the love of God, do something else? Can't you solve something?" He's like, "No, there's nothing worth solving. This is boring." And so he essentially waits for adventure and for a mystery to present itself to him, which is interesting. Because though he's technically not affiliated with any of these mysteries, which I think is the problem with the BBC Sherlock, is that all of them somehow are inexplicably connected to him, emotionally connected and stuff. And that show's bad. And I'll stand by that for multiple reasons. But
I enjoyed the first 2 seasons more or less.
Okay. It's been years since I saw it,
but I'm also I feel like better than most of you guys at turning my brain off and being like, fun things are fun, and it was fun.
I can't do that.
Especially when it was like nice and novel. There's a couple that I particularly liked. But no, I do love bored Sherlock who he's like, I need a more interesting crime to happen, which is also an interesting thing about the detective. There's like detectives have a certain parasitic relationship with evil. They need evil in order for them to be themselves.
There's a great Batman scene. I'm not going to get up and grab it, but there's a great page.
We'll prep for your longer Batman stream later.
Sorry, yes.
All your stuff out. No.
There's a great scene, speaking about being drawn to evil and the shaman type or the arc, like this role that he plays. These mobsters turn the bat signal on for him because they're scared of this satanic murderer figure offing people in the mob. He's seen as like a Malbolgia, Mephistopheles character. But Batman shows up and he's like, "What are you doing turning on my signal? Don't you know who I am? I'm the king of hell. And like you are like he is the one who presides over this hellscape and domain. Like without that domain, Batman cannot exist. And so he is the one who has rule or dominion over it. And I think that role as well, in kind of the supernatural shaman mystic kind of sense, that detective again thrives and lives off of such things. And Batman just is very obviously playing up that. The Dark Angel, the King of Hell, the ancient shaman, all of these things.
Yeah, Psychopomp, the one who goes back and forth between the land of the dead and the living. The one who ferries those to their doom. But again, in your read, Henry, where Batman is also seen as a redemptive figure, he is the one who is going into hell and is trying to draw them out. Be like,
and that's why Robin is important. But that's a different conversation. Because he's
Hellboy is another great detective.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Olsen, who this whole stream is actually his fault. Or no, not his fault, but this is all for you, Olsen, because you sent me an email. It's like, what's the prompt? And I'm like, detective. He's like, that's not enough. And I'm like, yes, it is. But we've been talking about it for 45 minutes now, so apparently it's not enough. But yeah, all of this is just kind of like churning on the idea or the theme and trying to explore all of the potentials that are out there. Like how many different ways detectives have been featured, how important they've been as a mascot for modernity. And one of the things, because Chad called me probably 2-3 weeks ago or so and was also looking for a little bit more kind of like elaboration. And we had a good brainstorming session. And one of the big things that he brought up is the question of like, what does it look like because if Sherlock Holmes is sort of like a modernity mascot, what does a postmodern detective look like? I don't have an answer for that, but that is something that I think would be well worth somebody or a lot of folks exploring. Because again, like, you know, part of Sherlock Holmes is a deep faith and confidence in rationality and his ability to solve all problems through like the power of his mind alone. The fact that the world is coherent and everything can be fit into its proper place. And if you enter like a postmodern world where none of those are givens anymore, then how do you get along? Af says Rorschach is a postmodern detective.
I'd have to read Rorschach's dialogue and what he's doing in Watchmen again to respond to that adequately.
I have not played Disco Elysium. No, I think I have it, but I am busy keeping on right now.
Trad reactionary to postmodernism. I was thinking that too, of like the postmodern detective without like the rationale is not sufficient, and so he has to go beyond that and perhaps use the spiritual, mystical, supernatural to make sense of things. Like that might be a response.
Yeah. Well, the Trad reaction is postmodern. It is recognizing that there's no coherence to be found in the world, and so it's a retreat back to a time where the world made more sense. But the idea of like going back, like fundamentally means that you're part of this world that no longer makes sense.
Well, that's going back to cyberpunk concepts too, right there.
And like detectives, noir, and cyberpunk are pretty
interchanged,
like wedded. Yep.
Yes. I was thinking about the medieval model of like existence, and we don't have like night detective. Like that's not a thing because justice is very black and white and very clear cut.
I mean, I feel like you definitely can.
Yes, but like historically, you know, traditionally, it's just like, you villain, I will kill you because you've just murdered this person in cold blood, like right in front of my face, right? There's no mystery to the actual crimes themselves per se, and justice is enacted very swiftly, for the most part.
Yeah. Well, first off, I think there's a number, or at least a couple different sort of like medieval settings for mysteries. I believe there is. I don't know if these are any good at all, but I think there's one series like Cadfael or something, which is about a monk who solves mysteries. And I think there is a series of mysteries that's based off of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales.
Oh, cool.
And again, part of the thing is like this is definitely like when you get into like like mystery fiction, it's probably the sorts of things that are much more formulaic. This is a very clear like plot and fold and whatnot. It's just a matter of like populating that world with interesting enough characters that people will read all 20 of your churned out novels.
Yes.
And of course, if you're looking for medieval mystery, you can read Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. Controversial pick, but I like it a lot. I'm not going to say much more here because it's sort of like you gotta read it in order to kind of like talk about some of the things that he's doing there, and the things we're talking about, like temporal versus cosmic justice and stuff like that. The power of rationality to be able to allow you to arrive at the truth. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. I like so Daredevil season 1. I've been doing a rewatch of that. Is not a detective fiction because there's no detective who's like a protagonist. The detectives are antagonists. There's a couple of these just like guys on the take, but it's very much investigative crime. If we want to expand the definition of just crime fiction, that's all about uncovering who is the kingpin, and it's finding the links and the seeds to reach to take down the house of cards essentially from the bottom up. Or from the top down, actually. That's where they're going with that. And that's used through the vigilantism one, but then it's also used through the court of law at the very end. When the main character finally reconciles the two halves of himself per se and is able to use both, and then actually finally see the law redeemed per se in being able to finally close up the case per se that's been ongoing all season. So investigative journalism is a big part of that first season, as well, where we're not
Karen,
doing
right?
that. Yeah, Karen, and then Ben Urich.
Right,
He's the
right.
older guy who allows her to kind of get into that world.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any season after that necessarily does a very good job of doing investigative crime fiction stuff, because there's nothing more to investigate since the evil is now exposed and out in the open. But that's a different conversation too.
I feel like
But
I want to
looking at that.
Ask CW question here. The New York trilogy, is that is that really like Peter Stillman? I want to say, which I only know because I believe that's the thing that's featured heavily in Metal Gear Solid 2. And I don't know, and I know that anyway. I'm not sure if it is or isn't, but I like part of my life mission is Paul Auster. Okay. Is Peter Stillman a character in the novel, or am I just thinking of something completely different?
I got another detective thing that just came to my mind.
Yeah.
Angela Lansbury's Murder, She Wrote is all these cozy local murder mysteries, but I feel like just small town gossip in as of itself can be looked at as a detective like mystery kind of story. In small provincial towns, everybody wants to know each other's business, hidden or not hidden. And so not that show is specifically about drama and seeking out the affairs of other people, but it totally is. Like, it's all these weird duplicitous, like Love Father Brown is another example of that exact same like gossip, small town, corrupted, not necessarily by some great evil, but often by just awful, petty, poor relationships and misunderstandings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's one like that's so good.
No one is satisfied until they've seen not necessarily justice restored, but just that they know what's happening. Sometimes for some nosy, like,
right.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
It's not even like seeking it's not even seeking like like temporal social harmony justice restored. It's just I just want to know what the Joneses are up to.
Exactly. That's not what Murder, She Wrote is, but that's what I was thinking of. And just her being involved in all this. Like her stupid nephew is somehow caught up in like more crimes in wherever they're traveling than he should be.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys are starting to realize just how rich with possibilities this thing is. And I will say, how about Inspector Gadget? Yeah, he's a detective. He's an inspector.
Let me see what's on my shelf, see if I got anything else to be as fodder for this discussion. I was thinking of something corny and cheesy. This mega church in my area 2 Christmases ago did a musical play Christmas pageant adaptation of Lee Strobel's The Case for Christ.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like there is, I mean, and again, like he is definitely sort of like playing a character. And so if somebody wants to use this theme as an opportunity to give a send up to evidentiary apologetics, I'm absolutely here for it. Please. That would be amazing.
So it was the noir thing got played up until you got the weird like Christmas number, and you're like, what are we doing? We're taking a complete sidestep to sing a overproduced version of a Christmas
noir
hymn
and a musical.
Well, it was like a noir segment with just what you would expect from like a big church's Christmas pageant, like with hymns and stuff.
Gosh.
They'd be like,
it's just the wrong season, man.
Investigating the evidence of Jesus, and I was really thinking about the manger, blah blah blah, and then it would just play like this overproduced, like I don't know, like little town of Bethlehem with like full choreography with like the little children's choir. Like, what are we doing? And they cut right back to like the noir, the Southern Baptist Church's attempt at noir.
Now I will say, like in hindsight, part of me feels like we're doing this in the kind of churning on this topic during the springtime, leading up to like a summer release, and I do feel like detective as a theme, this isn't quite the right season for it. Detective definitely feels far more. It feels like an autumn sort of thing.
You can do summer. You can do summer. I'm thinking about LA.
Sure.
I was thinking about the inevitable connection from noir to Los Angeles, because the misconception is that it's New York is like, no, it's not. It's the West Coast that noir is kind of born out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Maltese Falcon is San Francisco.
Yeah. I was thinking about like just that idea of you could do it in the summer, the heat as a device to kind of express the rising tensions of something. Like I think you could very much make a case for that, making it like a summer thing. Insofar as like using the atmosphere and the environment. The opening of Dark Knight Returns is all about that. It's like hot summer day. We're waiting for these summer storms to kick in, and that's the summer storms are the arrival of Batman onto the scene again after like 10 years, after everything is boiling over and beyond what can be contained right in the city. And so I don't know. I think you could do that. It's all about maybe playing into the atmosphere of that too, if anybody wants to do that.
Under the Silver Lake is a film. I am it's been on my list for a while. I gotta watch Dinner with Andre tonight first, but yeah, I feel like as far as like the archetype of detective is concerned, it is much more of the darker months versus the brighter months. And I think every time that you put the detective into one of the brighter months, that's a jarring juxtaposition. Like you can absolutely make it work, but I mean, like even like the Dark Knight Returns starting in like this, like, you know, this oppressive summer heat. It's just this sort of like feeling of being out of place, like is part of the, I don't know, like the palpableness of the atmosphere, that things are just kind of.
All right, here's something. Maybe I'll do something with it. The postmodern detective. You could have a very modernist detect like mystery, but the postmodern aspect is finding place meaning. And so you have a really out of place, jarring setting with a character who can't fit in, etc. I don't know, just very loose conceptually. Like you could really work a couple levels or layers on that maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day of just the idea of having a postmodern detective being somebody who the accused hires in order to like make it impossible for them to be convicted. Because their whole job is just creating reasonable doubt at every step of the investigation.
It's pretty good. That's all of like Better Call Saul in a way. All these heists and using the law to kind of create the situation which you're almost impervious to it at the same time. Which is not detective fiction, that's crime fiction, I suppose. In the broader scope and sense. But
yeah. And I think Better Call Saul definitely fits into like a broader kind of like conception of noir. And again, it hides that a little bit just because it takes place in Albuquerque.
Yeah. So the terrain it's interesting because Albuquerque, so much of the shots are so wide open and vast, and yet at the same time everybody is very secretive and concealed and is hiding despite the nature of the terrain. Just playing with that off from the hip, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just the wide shots are just this certain sort of like this emptiness, this bleakness. It's I don't know. Is it easier to be a nihilist in the desert?
Maybe, I don't know, because there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah. I mean, that's also like some people have made the comment that. I mean, the Abrahamic religions are also born in the desert.
It's true.
And so it's this like brutal, harsh.
And Christ dwells in the desert for 40 years or 40 days.
Yeah, it is this brutal, harsh kind of confrontation with reality that forces you to notice the really real, and it's just an environment that forces you to become a diamond. There's no softness to it.
It's pretty good. Drive the detective out to the wilderness, essentially, at the end of the story.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to comment earlier. I mean, the film The Dark Knight, that does end with a temporal, like a social harmony at the cost of actually serving the truth that comes back to bite them in the third movie.
Yeah.
And Batman is sent out into the wilderness for the sake of preserving the city.
Batman's not really a very good detective in that movie, though. That movie's not a great detective fiction. It's great crime fiction, but as like a uncovering the truth, etc. I think that movie's pretty lacking.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of any movies that are especially detective-y.
The Batman is pretty detective-y.
The
With Robert
Pattinson
Pattinson,
one.
I think that's
Okay.
I think that's the closest to the detective genre. That's the one I'm most impressed with as a film overall. Most excited about when viewing it initially. I was like, oh my gosh, we're finally doing. I think the first like 20 minutes of that film are perfect. Like, okay, perfect. I use hyperbolically, but for like what we're doing with that,
I mean, if you have high standards and like your standards aren't disrupted, like you're satisfied with the first 20 minutes, that's high praise.
I'm very satisfied with the first 20 minutes. Yeah, especially we do the police procedure, the very sterile investigation, the really jarring kind of Batman being out of place in that space in the investigation, and everybody clearly being perturbed and bothered by his interference. It's really, really good stuff on screen. And that whole movie kind of, in a weird way, almost highlights how out of place and not appropriate it is for this man to be running around in this bat costume in a way that the comics never do. Like, and it's not necessarily intentionally doing it, but it calls that attention to it, this dissonance between the vice and the mystery of the city and this very austere, really out of place weirdo just walking down the crime scene. So the detective is out of place. The detective doesn't belong in that world because the mystery and the crime itself doesn't want to be solved per se, right? Necessarily, whether that's people themselves covering it up, whether it's the nature of it being a cold case, the lack of meaning in the mystery does not want to reveal itself, or the meaning in it does not want to reveal itself.
Well, that's like, in a sense, like you need like the convention of the genre is that you need the outsider who is not part of the system, which also has something to say about like how every case is almost like a mini version of the problem of evil, where evil is not a part of the system, is this eruption. It's this thing that does not fit, this thing that does not belong, and this thing that you cannot explain. And so it baffles all of your normal investigators, and you need somebody from another world in order to contextualize it.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why, so like police procedurals, something like I think of like an NCIS or a CSI, those things are kind of like throwaway whatever. I enjoyed them growing up, but I think they don't have the outsider thing. And almost inevitably, these writers break the rules with what you can do bureaucratically, what you can do procedurally, in trying to attempt to make the organized structure that is the police force, the detective force, the good guys, and maybe dare I? And I'll be woke. I'll say like you can't do that. Like that doesn't work because there's only so much that the system can actually do to help uncover the truth or uncover the meaning and the mystery. Without and like there's certain guardrails, right? You'll have the like cop that breaks the rules. He can get away with it. Like you can't actually get away with that. You can't actually get away with that in the real world. HR is going to get your butt. Like you're done. Like you can't, as soon as somebody like files the paperwork. And we suspend the disbelief for it, I suppose. But it's interesting that we like to have the law themselves be able to resolve it. When Sherlock Holmes is outside of the law, Batman's outside of the law. A lot of our detectives that we like are not actually affiliated with the institutions that they're working alongside. Angela Lansbury, in Murder, She Wrote, is not a part of the law. She's just consulting and meddling on her own.
Yes. Well, if you really want to get woke, you should drop the term propaganda for all of those police procedurals. They're propaganda designed. Yeah. Like that's whose sole job is to like reinforce your faith in the system.
Yeah, Castle. Do you remember Castle, starring Nathan Fillion on ABC? About the crime writer that just pals around with the detectives to get inspiration for his stories. I remember watching that a lot as a kid with my mom. That's kind of big propaganda if we want to just be woke about it.
Did you see the YouTube channel Dropout? No, the improv comedy offshoot from College Humor.
No, I don't know that.
Okay, well, apparently they are getting in like I've seen a number of like takedown videos recently because they are getting big enough to the point where they're getting a lot of like official recognition in like Hollywood, and I think one of their shows is being featured in Nathan Fillion's newer police show.
Oh, that's right. He's on the Rookie.
Yeah. And so like all of these like lefty Hollywood comedians are getting a little bit of grief because they are participating in propaganda.
I don't mind propaganda. It's entertaining. I like watching it.
Yeah.
I have no actual woke takes per se, but I'll play the academic in the chair right now.
I just thought it was funny, especially since for like years I felt like they could do no wrong. But you want to climb in this industry, you got to get your hands dirty.
True, it's true. Like the detective himself.
Exactly.
The detective's also fixed. The detective can't scale the hierarchy and positions of power. They're stuck, per se, because they're bound to the mission of uncovering the truth and figuring out the mystery.
They're outside the hierarchy, so they can kind of go all over the place.
Right. Well, if we're talking about like the police procedural, they can only be at best like the lead detective. They can't be promoted because as soon as they're promoted, they're no longer the ones actively solving the case.
Right.
I was just thinking about that. And so like the commissioner of police or the chief of like the precinct is not going to be the one solving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like invariably, like in all these stories, the commissioner is the one who is like, get this case solved by Friday, McCluskey, or whatever. And like their job is like they're completely like unconcerned as a general rule with both cosmic order and with social order. They just want this issue finished. Like they want an answer, regardless of how satisfying it is.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon, when he becomes commissioner in like a Batman story, has so much less agency. And you can have that tension of wanting to do the work but can't, and et cetera. But like early Batman stories are really fun when he is like a lieutenant and is actively solving the cases. And you are doing a better job of kind of work like the partnership of the law and like the vigilante in like a Batman story, for example. And so then for like Daredevil, you have Ben Urich, the investigator, and you have even further outside the law as the vigilante in those cases.
Okay, so Af says propaganda is fine as long as you don't forget that you shouldn't always trust cops. And also immediately, like Tanger said to say, but there are a lot of cops out there who are genuinely trying to serve their community.
I know some.
So if
I can't be McWoke. I can't be woke.
if last issue was this little zine, Islamophobia edition or Orientalism edition, this issue is going to be this little zine ACAB edition. 1312, brother. All right. Well, I think we've tried enough ground here. I think we've played enough. Unless there's more that you've got. Yeah. I feel like we've done like the whole purpose of this was just kind of like get a little bit of brainstorming, a little bit of the churn going to help you guys think, and just tell you with my face that like whatever you're thinking, it's probably fine. Like I'm a very, 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 very generous with. Very generous with my prompts here. I'll give you so much rope that you can use to hang your protagonist with. It's fine. It's fine.
So did we settle though on like is it the postmodern thing, or are we settling on like a detective story or crime fiction and this? Like, do we have the flavor, the dressing?
I don't think like once again, like I don't think you need the flavor.
Cool. Okay.
This is just to give people a tour of the spice rack and let them know the flavors that they have available to them that they can use. But and again, like Chad chimed in, like I'm already 3/4 done. Do I need to start over? No, you don't. No, you don't. If you have a story that has to do with detectives in some way, you're golden. This is just to kind of explore some of the possibilities that lay at our fingertips. And again, like I'm like as a general rule, I'm hoping to get pretty kind of like minimal prompts that will inspire a lot of different responses and reactions. And I feel like the jamming together of cyberpunk and Islam was such a there was a lot there. So that was like a really kind of like compact seed that exploded. But that's I think much more of a new concept, and so it needed a little bit more of a powder keg, something like a detective, because there's just so much out there. There's a lot more that you can reference, and so there's 100 different directions that you can take this, and I don't think you necessarily need much more than we've got. But that said, if you're struggling, reach out to me, thislittlezine@gmail.com. Hit me up on Discord, and I'm happy to kind of like brainstorm with you guys personally if you'd like. But yeah, if you're like looking for permission, like, can it be this? Can it be this? Can it be this? I am almost certainly going to say yes, it can. Because I'm believing a much looser, much lighter hand. Especially at this point.
Off an Encyclopedia Brown story.
See, even that you can absolutely make that interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that those in and of themselves aren't interesting, but like, especially if you use that, I don't know, like approach some of the issues that we're dealing with. Like ask questions like, I mean, if you want to use Encyclopedia Brown to like investigate how the meaning crisis affects kids, I mean,
pretty good.
Like
have the Encyclopedia Brown. The Encyclopedia Brown kid bothers the pulpy noir detective until he finally just concedes and lets him help solve the case.
Oh, I was going to say this earlier, but also I kind of feel like the most noir of all of Jesus's parables is the parable of the persistent widow, where there's this unrighteous judge who doesn't care about anything, and she just shows up and she bothers him day in and day out. It's like, give me justice, give me justice. And then he's like, bah, 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 get out of my face. Give me justice. Give me justice. And he's like, eventually, just because of her persistence alone, this guy who does not care about anything is going to give her a hearing and resolve the situation.
Pretty good. Same with the persistent friend. Surely I tell you, this friend did not give this man bread, etc., because he was his friend, because he wouldn't stop bothering him.
Yep.
I've said my piece.
Yeah. Perfect. Anyway, there you go. If you have questions, email me, Discord me, Twitter me. And come to our regional ingression, June 12th to the 14th. You can show up in Washington with the rest of us, or find your own campfire and just let us know where you're at, so we can send other weirdos your way too. Yeah, I'm going to be camping myself this weekend, and I'll probably record some video teaching all of you guys who have never built a fire before how to build a fire. It's not that hard. You can do it. Anyway, I think that's it. So we will call it here. Thank you so much for joining me, Henry. This has been a delight. Thank you to Ezra and Grim for joining us as well. And everyone else in the comments, Marcus, Luke, Ethan, Olson for inspiring this stream, Afriel, President Foxman. I'm sure there are others that I am forgetting. Oh, CW came out to bother us for a minute, and that was wonderful. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll talk to you soon.